somebody tell me if they have questions or I don't understand what I'm saying. Happy to repeat. Okay, we're going to talk about three different kinds of plants. We're going to talk about indigenous. Indigenous means it is found here in Hawaii, but it's found all the way through the Pacific Basin too. So it's something that all of the Pacific Islands have. And then we're going to talk about endemic. Endemic means it's found here, only here, and it's usually an indigenous plant or something who has come here and then evolved into something that is totally unique to Hawaii. And then the last kind of plants we're going to talk about are canoe plants, which are plants that the migrants brought knowing they were going to need. It has a white flower. Now, flowering plants are usually pollinated by If you pick up one of these leaves and crush it in your fingers, you'll get the allspice flavor. Now, it's not the allspice that you would use in the kitchen, but it's from the same family. Allspice tree. The purpose of which was to fill it with whale blubber and light a fire and reduce the blubber to whale oil. Until almost the 1900s, whale oil was the only lubricating oil that there was. One whale would produce about 200 barrels. Hawaiians used to take a rib from a coconut leaf and spindle 7 or 8 of these nuts on the spindle, light the top, and you had a candle, hence the candle nut tree. Very, very useful, however, for other reasons besides the candle nut. There was medicinal uses. They used to take and collect the soot by putting the candle over a coconut shell, and then the soot would make a wonderful gray paint. Kukui. I'm a docent, and the Hawaiian word for docent is also kukui, I guess because I'm supposed to be spreading light. Here's a white garden. British like to have a corner of the garden in which there was nothing but white flowers. So you have the white orchid, you have the mock orange, which is a citrus, you have the magnolia, and you have the kiawe. Kiawe, the popular name for kiawe is algaroba. It has a lovely acidic basin. In fact, Indonesians call it the kerosene tree. It's quite flammable. But the Hawaiians loved it for several. A very popular plant. The baby sister of Pele. Pele's the goddess of fire, the one that causes all the volcanoes. And she had a little baby sister. Heiaka was her name. And one day, according to the legend, Pele was told to babysit Heiaka, but she was selfish. She wanted to go swimming, and so off she went. In English, the Hawaiian word is ki. It's a very, very popular plant. It was had many, many uses. It was used in making skirts and so forth, but also you could use it for a food platter. You could cup it and make cups from it. Very, very important. Probably a canoe plant that came. the first people that came here say it covered everything, except for the uplands where you had the ohia. It was a universal plant. Lolu is kind of slang in Hawaiian for umbrella, so it probably the leaves were using for thatching or for coloring. Now, it used to be everywhere. It's nowhere now. Why? Because it has a nut that tastes like coconut that the rats love. So as soon as the nuts fall, the rats get it before it can propagate into a new one. So it's a very rare specimen to have it, the Lolu palm. Okay, go on down. Very rocky and not as much soil as we like. So not many of our specimens are real big. But what Hawaiians used to do from the larger variety that the Hawaiians love, it's very tasty. It has two problems. One problem is it needs a lot of water to grow, and number two, it takes a long time to harvest. It takes up to 18 months to mature. So if you live in a dry area or you can't wait for the taro, you grow uala or sweet potato. The purplish plant is uala or sweet potato. And interesting enough, it's from South America, and we kind of suspect that some Pacific voyagers got there. Why? Because that's the same thing they call it in South America, uala. So how would we know if we hadn't been there? And of course here, the coconut. Niu in Hawaiian. They say it's the perfect plant. Every single bit of the plant is used. The trunk is used for canoes and for drums and for construction and all kinds of things. And of course the leaves were used for thatching and all kinds of the ribs we talked about, and the coconut, you know. The husks were used for firewood, and the nut inside was edible. And covering the nut was kind of a hairy brown, like a hair, and they call it sennet, S-E-N-N-I-T, and I can't imagine how labor intensive it would be, but they say they used to make rope out of the sennet, and the early traders would trade for the rope because the hemp that they were using at saltwater, in saltwater too long, it disintegrated, where the sennet had a much longer life. There was much in the land. Coconut. Name was Kahala or Pono. Father was the wind, Makani.